The following Zoom session is being recorded and will appear later today on my YouTube channel, Math with Mayo. There are two different classes that may be observing this session. Therefore, when you participate in the Zoom meeting, if you do not wish for your picture or your name to be made public, please leave the video off and use an alias name. If you have questions during the meeting but do not wish to speak, email me at bmail@ybcc.edu and I'll respond as soon as I can. All right, today we're going to go on to take a look at objective 4B.2, which is dealing again with graphing. And the first thing that I want to talk about, let's see here. Let's find a grid. Let's take a look at a particular line. And let's see, let's make it there and there and draw a line through that. This line that I have drawn cuts through the y-axis and it cuts through the x-axis. The point where the line crosses the y-axis is called the y-intercept. So for this particular graph, the y-intercept is at the point 0, 3. The x value is 0, the y value is 3. The point where the graph cuts through the x-axis is called the x-intercept. And the coordinates of that point are 4, 0. Any questions about this particular graph? All right, let's take a look at another graph. Let's see here. This graph, or this line of graph, cuts through the y-axis at what is called the y-intercept, and this is at 0, 2. It cuts through the x-axis in what is called the x-intercept, and that is at -6, 0. Again, any questions? All right, let's take a look at this graph. This graph cuts through the x-axis at -3, and the coordinates of the x-intercept are -3, 0. This graph does not have a y-intercept because the graph itself is parallel to the y-axis, therefore it never crosses it. This graph has a y-intercept at 0, 4, but it has no x-intercept because it's parallel to the x-axis. All right, so let's go back and look. Notice in this graph that the y-intercept has an x value of 0. The y-intercept has an x value of 0. The y-intercept has an x value of 0. Because anywhere along this line, this y-axis, the x value would be 0. So that leads us to the following information. To find a y-intercept, set x equal to 0. So in other words, complete the following ordered pair. If you have an equation that's a linear equation and you put 0 in for x, the resulting y value will be the y-intercept, the point where the graph cuts through the y-axis. Let's go back and take a look here. Notice the x-intercept has a y value of 0. The x-intercept has a y value of 0. The x-intercept has a y value of 0. I know, I keep repeating myself. That leads us to the following. To find an x-intercept, set y equal to 0. In other words, complete the following ordered pair. Okay, so to find a y-intercept, set x equal to 0. To find an x-intercept, set y equal to 0. Any questions about this information so far? All righty. Let's see here. So let's go to this. Yesterday, we looked at equations in the form y equals and then some number times x plus some number. And we said that when it was in this form, the coefficient of x was the slope. So the slope would be 2/3. That is to say, go up 2 and over 3 to the right. We also talked about that the letter m is used to stand for the slope. All right. Now, suppose we want to know the y-intercept of the graph of this equation. How would we go about it? We'd set x equal to 0. Well, if I put 0 in for x, this term is always going to turn into 0, and what I'm going to have left is this constant. Do you see that? What this tells me is when a graph is in this form, or an equation rather, this is the slope, the 2/3, and this is the y-intercept at 0,4. Now, we've talked again about that the letter m stands for the slope. I don't know why, but mathematicians decided that the letter b was going to stand for the y-intercept. So for this particular equation, the slope is 2/3, the y-intercept is 4. Any questions about that? All right, now we can take this equation, y equals 2/3 x plus 4, and let's put it right here, y equals 2/3 x plus 4. In the past, we have graphed lines by completing several ordered pairs and plotting those ordered pairs and then drawing the line through the ordered pairs. That's still a valid way of doing things, but here's another way. This equation is in the form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. This form is called slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form of a linear equation. For this particular equation, the slope is 2/3 and the y-intercept is 4. From that information, I can graph the line. It begins at 0,4. That's the y-intercept. From there, it goes up 2 and over 3. So from that, I get the graph. Again, I've got the y-intercept and the slope. Any questions about that? This is the big deal of the day, slope-intercept form. We're going to look at ways to, given an equation, extract the slope in the y-intercept, use it to graph. Given a graph, extract the slope in the y-intercept to get the equation to go back and forth. All right, so here we go. Let's see here. I want to come up with the equation of this line And I want it to be in slope-intercept form. So it's going to be in the form y equals mx plus b. So I need to find the slope and I need to find the y-intercept. Now, from this graph, there are a couple of different ways I can find the slope. The easiest way for this particular graph would be to take 2 points that are nicely located and see that we're going to go down 1 as we go over 3. Therefore, the slope is -1/3. Another way we could do it that's just as efficient but would take longer would be to identify the coordinates of 2 points. Let's see, this is -3, 3, and this is what, 0, 2, and plug those 2 points into the slope formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And let's see, if we call this point 1 and point 2, we're going to get what, 2 minus 3. That's not what I didn't want a comma there. 2 minus 3 over 0 minus -3, which would be -1/3. There it is. Okay, that takes longer, but that works. When would we definitely want to use this? Well, if we couldn't locate 2 nice points on the graph with nice coordinates to plug or to just, draw the picture here. All right. The y-intercept, well, it's where the graph cuts through the y-axis. So b equals 2. So our equation would be y equals -1/3 x plus 2. There is the equation of this graph. Any questions about that?
Can you give me just a second?
Sure, to write stuff down?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Anybody else need more time? Okay. Let's take a look at the following situation. Let's say we are asked to find the equation of a line that has a slope of -6 and a y-intercept of 2. And we're going to write our answer in y equals mx plus b form. Well, the slope is -6 and the y-intercept is 2. Now, keep in mind, when we list the y-intercept by itself as an ordered pair, it would look like that. But in terms of the equation, we list the y value for b. Okay, so the equation is going to be y equals mx plus b. That equation has a slope of -6 and a y-intercept of 2. Any questions about that? Okay, let's see here. Done that. Okay, let's take a look at another one that has the following information. It has a slope of 4 and a y-intercept of 0, -2/3. So m is 4, b is -2/3, y equals mx plus b. Now, you could write it like that, y equals mx plus b, but adding a negative is the same thing as just subtracting. So they're both correct, but this is preferred. Okay. Questions about that? Okay. I want to take a look now at Y-map. And I want to look specifically at question number 6. Okay. It says, find an equation y equals mx plus b for the line whose graph is sketched. Now, this particular problem isn't too bad. You can see that there's a green line indicating that that's the equation. And it looks like it goes through where y is 5. Okay. Since it's a horizontal line, the slope would be 0, right? Horizontal line, slope is 0. Vertical line, slope is undefined. And it has a y-intercept of 5 right there. Okay. So m is 0 and b is 5. Now, let's go back to the other screen. So my equation would be y equals 0x plus 5. But I don't need to write the 0x because 0x is just 0. So in fact, this is the equation I would write, y equals 5. Let's go back to yesterday for a moment. What did we say about an equation in the form y equals a number? That it was a horizontal line. Okay. So once again, we're going to go back to Y-map. Do you see that it's a horizontal line? So the slope would be 5. Oh, excuse me. The slope would be 0 and the y-intercept would be 5. Okay, now, yesterday I was looking over this assignment and the particular question that was on question 6 at the time, the graph line was, I think it was on 4, and I couldn't actually see it over the top of the grid itself. And so I thought, well, there's no graph there. What's going on? Notice right here, there's a, what do you call it, magnifying glass. If you click on it, look what happened. It increased the size of the graph. And when I did that on the line that was actually on 4, I could see it over the top of what was there. So my point is this, whether you do it all the time or just when you need to, each of these graphs has a little magnifying glass that allows you to click on it and make it bigger. So, you know, for instance, here you can see that the slope is 3/1, whereas maybe in this form, it's not as easy to see. Okay, so just wanted to make note of that, that there's that little magnifying glass telling you you can make it larger. Okay, any questions about that? All right, let's go back to our whiteboard screen. Give me just a minute here. Done that. Well, let's take a look at this one, number 8. Find an equation y equals mx plus b for the line whose graph is sketched. Okay, so the slope, first of all, looking at the graph, is the slope positive, negative, 0, or undefined?
Negative,
How do you know it's negative?
because it's going down from left to right.
Excellent. And I'm glad you said from left to right. That's part of the process. All right. So let's see. We've got a point here and a point there. We're going to go down 2/1. So negative 2/1 or just negative 2. So our slope, negative 2. Okay. And the y-intercept is what?
6.
6. Excellent. All right. So there we have it. So what would the equation be? They don't ask for it here, but what would the entire equation be? Anybody?
Negative 2/1x plus 6.
Yeah, you left out the first part. What's over on the left side?
Y.
Right, so you'd have y equals negative 2x plus 6. And you could write negative 2 over 1, but you don't need to put the 1 in the denominator. You could just say negative 2x plus 6. Okay? All right, let's see here. Have a look and see. There's a graph. Okay. Let's take a look at number 10. Which equation is shown on the graph? Now, they've labeled this point and this point. And again, we have the two ordered pair coordinates. With that, we could plug that into the slope formula, but we can also just count. The slope is going to be what? Up 2 and over 5. So the slope would be positive 2/5. Okay. And the y-intercept is at negative 3. So y equals 2/5 x minus 3. Okay, you see how I did that? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. How about this one? What's the slope? Up 2 over 2. So m equals 2 over 2, which would be m equals what?
1.
1. And what is b?
Negative 2.
So y equals 1x minus 2, or you could just write y equals x minus 2. Okay. So y equals x minus 2. Let's see what it says over here. Now, they put 1 times x, which is not wrong, but is not necessary. Let's see if it takes it. Yes, it did. Okay. All right. Take a look at 12. It says, is y equals negative 4x plus 36 increasing or decreasing? Tell me which it is and tell me why you know that. Anybody?
It would be decreasing
Why?
because the slope is negative.
Bingo. You get 2 gold stars for that. All right. Let's see here. Same thing, same thing. Graph the line y equals negative 2/3 x minus 1. What's the slope?
Negative 2/3.
What's the y-intercept?
Negative 1.
Yeah, now, I want to switch back to my whiteboard screen here for a minute. So the slope is negative 2/3 and the y-intercept is negative 1. So m stands for the slope, b stands for the y-intercept. There's another thing that they stand for. B stands for begin and m stands for move. Let me explain. What I'm going to do to graph this, I'm going to begin at negative 1, and then I'm going to move down 2 and over 3. And there you go. See what I did there? So I started with the y-intercept and then applied the slope from that line. Now, you can't do that the other way around. You can't say, oh, I'm going to start with negative 2/3 as a slope. From where? Let me ask you this, okay? Let's see, what was it? Wednesday, I mowed my back lawn and it took me 2 hours. What time did I finish?
Undefined.
Undefined? Boy, no, I don't think so.
Well, you just can't find it because you don't know. You don't have a beginning point.
Exactly. You don't have a beginning point. And that's why the slope by itself isn't enough information to graph it. My beginning point is there. From there, I go down to n over 3. Okay. So back to B stands for begin and M stands for move. All right. Let's do this one. Where would you start? Where would you begin at? What's the y-intercept?
At 4.
There you go. And then what am I going to do from there? What's the slope?
-3.
Right. And it's the same thing as -3 over 1. There you go. Okay. You see that? All right. Now, things get a little trickier here because they've changed the scale on us. The x-axis, the scale, each square is 2 units. The y-axis, the scale, each square is 5 units. So be careful, okay? So let's find the slope and the y-intercept. Let's go from this point right here to this point right there, okay? How far up are we going? From here to here, how far up?
5 units.
How far over are we going?
4.
So what's the slope? We went up 5 and over 4. So the slope would be
5/4.
5/4, right?
Sorry, I was taking a call for work.
That's okay, that's right. Now, if you ignore the scale, you might say, oh, it goes up 1/2, the slope's 1/2. Don't ignore the scale, okay? Where's the y-intercept? Where does it cut through the y-axis?
0.
Yeah, it's 0. So M is 5/4, B is 0. So our equation would be y equals 5/4, and then I got to move the cursor over there, x. In fact, let me go back for a minute and show you what will happen if you don't do it right. If you just do this, see what happens? That's not correct, is it? So not using the stuff down below, just using the slanted key, I've got to come back here and move the cursor. Actually, I'll use the mouse and move the cursor out there. There's my x. And then it would be what? +0, but I don't need to put the +0. So I just say, whoops, went too far there. Y equals 5/4 x. Let's see what they did. Yeah, they didn't put a +0 because that's just kind of fluff. You don't need the +0 there, right? Okay. Let's see here. Oh, graph a line that has an x-intercept of -4, 0 and a y-intercept of 0, -2. Now I want to point out, what does it ask for? It doesn't say what's the equation. It says graph the line. Well, yesterday, weren't we graphing lines using 2 points? Or maybe it was 2 days ago. Do we have 2 points? Yeah, we do. The x-intercept and the y-intercept. So let's see. 4, 0 and 0, -2. There you go. See, 4, 0, 0, -2. We all right with that? I'll take that as a yes. Now let's go back. What's the equation of this line? Well, I know that B is -2. What's the slope? Well, look at the scale. Everything's in 1. So we're going to go up 2 and over 4. So it's 2/4 or 1/2. So it'd be y equals 1/2 x minus 2. Again, they didn't ask for that, but I asked for that. Okay. So we're just kind of going back and forth. Given a picture, get the slope and the y-intercept, write the equation. Given the equation, extract the slope and the y-intercept, draw the picture. Okay. Now, let's take a look at, actually, we're going to do one like number 20, but we're not going to do number 20. Let me pick some different points here. Let's see here. Thought I had it. Here we go. Okay. I know you can't see what I'm doing yet. Give me just a minute to write things out. Yeah, let's see, -5, 1. Okay. So can you see my whiteboard screen now? Somebody?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. We're going to use these instructions. Find the equation in terms of x. So it's going to be y equals mx plus b of the line through the following points, 7, -3, and -5, 1. So I want the equation to be in that form. Okay. To do that, I need two pieces of information. I need the slope and I need the y-intercept. Okay. If I had those two pieces of information, I could plug them right in and have the equation, right? I don't have either one. However, I do have the slope formula, which given 2 points on the line, I could get the slope. Okay, so I'm going to use those 2 points to find the slope. Y sub 2 is 1, y sub 1 is -3, x sub 2 is -5, x sub 1 is 7. 1 minus -3 is 1 plus 3, which is 4. -5 minus 7 is -5 plus -7, which is -12. I can reduce this down to -1/3. So the slope is -1/3. I'll give you a minute to catch up there. We call this catch up with Mayo or something like that. Let me know when we can go on. Somebody? Anybody?
Yes.
We good? Okay. So all I did there was something we did a couple of days ago. Given 2 points, given 2 ordered pairs, find the slope, right? Okay. Now, we want our equation to be in that form, as in that form right there. Well, I know that the slope is -1/3. Okay. So from there, I get y equals -1/3 x plus b. I'm halfway home. I've got my slope. I don't have the y-intercept yet. Okay. So far, so good?
Yes.
Well, yeah, shoot, I don't have the y-intercept. What do I have? I've got a couple of points. Okay. Each of those points consists of an x value and a y value. I can take either one of those 2 points, but it's got to be one of the points, not like the x value from one point and the y value from the other. I'm going to use 0.2 because it's closer. And I'm going to take the -5 and put it in the place of x, and the 1 and put it in the place of y. So what do I get? I get 1 equals -1/3 times -5 plus b. So far, so good? Which says 1 equals negative times negative is +5/3 plus b. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to solve for B. So next move, I'm going to subtract 5/3 from both sides of the equation. So what do I have now? I have 1 minus 5/3 equals B. Okay. What's the common denominator between 1 and 3? It'd be 3, right? So how many thirds minus 5/3 equals B? I'm going to multiply the 1 by 3/3. So I get 1 equal to 3/3. Again, you still with me?
Yes.
3/3 minus 5/3 would be negative 2/3. Oh, so we've got our slope and our y-intercept. So y equals negative 1/3 x minus 2/3. And there's our equation. That was a bit of work, but consider what we did. We needed to find the slope. I didn't have a picture. All I had was 2 ordered pairs. So I could use the slope formula to get the slope, plug that in, take either one of the points, plug it in for x and y to find B, and then go back and plug in the values for the slope and the y-intercept. If I had used this other point instead, I still would have gotten the same value for B. But don't use like this x and this y. You've got to use an x, y from the same point. Okay. Any questions about that one? Okay, let's see here. Here we go. Okay. We want to find the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that has, let's see here, I don't want to do this. It has an x-intercept of 7, 0 and a y-intercept of 0, -2. All right, so find an equation of a line in slope-intercept form that has an x-intercept of 7, 0 and a y-intercept of 0, -2. All right, did I switch over to the whiteboard screen? Am I?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I keep switching back and forth. I get myself confused. Okay, so we've got 2 ordered pairs, right? Let's see, right here and right there. What could we do with those 2 ordered pairs to get the slope? To get M. Use the
Y2 minus Y1 formula.
right. What is that called? What is that? That's the slope formula. Okay. So use the slope formula. That's what we did right back here. We used this with those 2 points. So we're going to use the slope formula, which is what? M equals y⁻² minus y⁻1 over x⁻² minus x⁻1. I'll call this point 1 and this point 2. So y⁻² is 0, y⁻1 is -2, x⁻² is 7, x⁻1 is 0. Okay, you with me?
Yes.
Subtracting a negative is like adding a positive. 0 plus 2 is 2. 7 minus 0 is 0. Excuse me, is 7. So the slope is 2/7.
Isn't it Y2 minus Y1?
Yes, yes. And I fooled myself because I had this over to the left, right. My bad. Thank you very much.
It's okay. I remember the formula, but not the name.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, this is 0.1 and this is 0.2. So thank you. It would be -2 minus 0. Again, I think I confused myself because 0.2 is on the left. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. X2 is 0 minus X1. How's that look? Is that better?
I think so.
Okay. So we've got -2 over -7, which is +2/7. So the slope is 2/7. So y equals mx plus b. 2/7 goes right there. Y equals 2/7 x plus b. When you were a little kid, did you believe in Santa Claus? Anybody?
Yeah, I think everybody did.
Okay. I still believe in Santa Claus. It's just that now I'm the one that gets the bills. So on Christmas morning, you go downstairs or whatever, there's a Christmas tree and there's all these presents in front of you. And you're told that you can unwrap your presents. Would you just sit there?
No.
No. Okay. Well, you've been given a present right now. Do you see it? And if so, open it.
-2 is B.
Bingo. Good job. B is the y-intercept. Okay. Don't go looking for something that's right in front of you. All right. You okay with that? Well, that's all I've got for you today. So again, you're going to be using the slope formula, this thing. You're going to be using the slope-intercept form of an equation of a line. You've got the idea of an x-intercept and a y-intercept, which goes way back. Let's see, where was that? Right here. To find a y-intercept, set x equal to 0. To find an x-intercept, set y equal to 0. All right. Also, just a reminder of some other things. X equals a constant is the equation of a vertical line, and the slope of a vertical line is undefined. Y equals a constant is the equation of a horizontal line, and the slope of a horizontal line is m equals 0. You need to be memorizing these facts. Okay. Hey, have a great weekend. And if I don't see you this afternoon at 1:15 for an office hour, I'll see you on Monday. Be smart, stay safe, and take care.
Have a good weekend.
You too.